The active income tax grid is a framework built for the working class. While most people try to get rich by earning a higher salary, the ultra-wealthy use a system known as buy, borrow, die to live completely tax-free. When you trade your physical labor for a cash paycheck, you trigger an immediate tax liability. For high earners, the federal government collects up to 37% of that money before a single dollar even hits your bank account. This is why the financial elite often refuse to participate in the wage system. Look at the corporate compensation structures of tech tycoons like Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg. Their legal base salaries are regularly documented at exactly $0 or a single symbolic dollar bill. They aren't working for free. Instead of receiving a taxable cash paycheck, these executives are compensated with massive blocks of corporate equity, shares in the companies they control that compound in value continuously. This illustrates the realization principle. An asset is immune to taxation until a sale is executed. You can watch holdings quadruple, but until you sell, you owe nothing. By never selling equity, billionaires' net worth skyrockets while remaining entirely invisible to tax collectors. Active wages act as an artificial ceiling designed to tax physical human energy. Asset ownership operates on a completely separate tier, allowing wealth to multiply in total silence, free from the friction of income tax. Phase 1 of the framework is simple: buy. True wealth preservation requires moving away from fiat cash. Paper money sitting in a checking account loses value daily due to inflation. To capture economic growth instead of losing to it, capital must be converted into appreciating assets. The top 1% concentrate their net worth exclusively into specific vehicles: corporate stocks, private enterprises, intellectual property, and prime commercial real estate. Here is how the math plays out in real estate. An investor purchases a commercial property for $2 million. Over the next decade, surrounding infrastructure demands increase, and the property's market value scales up to $6 million. That $4 million gap in paper appreciation is legally classified by the tax code as an unrealized gain. Because no actual sale took place, the government cannot send a tax invoice for the growth. The working class stockpiles cash that inflation melts away, while the wealthy accumulate scarce assets that compound endlessly, never experiencing physical fatigue or requiring a lunch break. But this presents a mechanical problem. If the wealthy never sell their assets, how do they actually pay for the private jets, the mansions, and the daily expenses of an elite lifestyle without triggering a massive tax bill? This brings us to phase 2, borrow. When the average middle-class consumer wants to buy a liability, like a car or a house, they borrow money against their future active labor. The bank views them as high risk, charges interest, and effectively forces them into a cycle where they work harder just to pay off the loan. Institutional asset holders flip this dynamic completely. They do not borrow against their time. They use their appreciating portfolios as ironclad collateral to establish structured, low-interest credit facilities. Imagine walking into JP Morgan with a $100 million Amazon stock portfolio. Instead of liquidating the shares, you draw down a credit line, extracting $50 million in liquid cash at a marginal 2.5% interest rate. You deploy $5 million to fund your lifestyle and funnel the remaining $45 million straight back into high-yielding private notes and new assets. Meanwhile, your original $100 million portfolio continues to compound at a rate that easily outpaces the low cost of the credit line. Under federal law, a loan is classified as debt, not income. By utilizing bank credit, the wealthy use debt to increase their net worth velocity while remaining bulletproof against the income tax grid. Eventually, the timeline runs out. What happens when the asset owner passes away while carrying tens of millions of dollars in structured credit liabilities? You might expect the state to step in and seize the assets to settle the balance. Instead, historical federal tax mechanisms ensure the entire tax clock resets to zero. Phase 3 is die. This legal reset is governed by a rule called the step-up in basis. It automatically adjusts the original cost basis of an inherited asset to match its modern market value on the exact day the original owner dies. Grandpa buys $1 million in Apple stock, compounding to $10 million. Selling alive triggers a $1.8 million tax penalty, but holding until death triggers the step-up in basis. The cost basis refreshes, and the tax liability mathematically vanishes. To settle the outstanding loans from Phase 2, The family office simply triggers a corporate life insurance policy held inside an irrevocable trust. The payout instantly clears the debt with the bank, leaving the newly inherited assets completely unencumbered. The middle class leaves behind taxable estates and consumer debts that burden their children. The wealthy engineer legal networks where original tax liabilities vanish completely at the graveyard. Because the tax system is mathematically weighted toward capital over labor, real growth is difficult to achieve solely through a paycheck. Long-term accumulation depends on shifting from selling your time to owning systems. If you want to protect your capital and understand exactly how these structures operate globally, our breakdown on offshore tax avoidance networks is the logical next step. It is on your screen right now. For those looking to shift their financial trajectory, hit the subscribe button and type the word wealth in the comments below so we know who is tracking these strategies. The rules of money are written in plain sight. Understanding these precise mechanical loopholes is the only way to stop playing as a pawn in the system and start building as an architect.